I've heard the stories, but still I never imagined this. The Fullmetal Alchemist is just a little kid.
Don't call me little!
Oh.
You know, brother, I don't think he was really talking about your height just now.
Well, even if he wasn't, he still pissed me off!
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our third Robot Heroes Week podcast.
Today we look at the ever-popular anime based off the manga Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
This reboot and closer adaptation to the manga follows two brothers who search for a Philosopher's Stone after an attempt to revive their deceased mother goes awry and leaves them in damaged physical form.
Yeah, I guess that's the proper way of saying it. Again, say, you screwed up!
You bastards! I'm sorry, I can't know. Okay,
Oh,
for
gosh.
those of you who watch this show, you know why I said it, and it's not because I'm just a crazy mama. Oh my god.
Right. And the show actually, this is actually a reboot of the series already. There was another one just titled Fullmetal Alchemist, and that version decided to go in its own direction. It didn't follow the manga. It just had to do its own story after a couple episodes.
And it aired in 2003.
Right.
And we're actually watching that now. We watched this one first and absolutely love it. And we made the mistake of watching the Fullmetal Alchemist movie prior to watching the series. Bad llama. Bad llama. For you out there who haven't seen, don't watch it in that order. And we're going to have a retraction podcast because now we've seen it.
It's
we've
horrifying. Now that movie is horrifying. So
let's stick to the great part, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. And first, the voice actors are amazing. Yeah, the voice actors are amazing.
Yeah, all of them were great for their roles, and I'm glad they got pretty much all of them to reprise their roles from the 03 series. Mm-hmm. Pretty much all of them came back except for one. I think the one that did Alphonse's voice, because it was an actual kid.
Right.
An actual kid was doing his voice, and he was too old to play him, so they just got another kid that was a sound-alike and to do the role this time. And it was even better, they even had 3 of the original voices do the crappy live-action movie.
Well, no, they did the voice,
the voices
the
of
English
them,
dub for. And even though I guess he was an adult when he did it, it still was great, even though he didn't sound with the little kid's voice anymore. Just knowing that it was actually him doing the American dub was fine.
Right.
That was the best part of the movie, hearing the original actors.
Yeah.
The story is incredibly interesting. This particular version, as you mentioned, the reboot,
yeah, the Brotherhood,
full of drama and action, suspense, and it's so different we're seeing from the original that aired in 2003.
Yeah, the original was more, it looks like, even though it still had these really dark elements, it wanted to be lighthearted most of the time. It wanted to be adventurous. That's great you do that, help these people, but you're really straying away from your story. It takes like 5, 6, 7 episodes for them to get back to what they were doing. Then when they get back to what they were doing, they take another detour because something else happens that differs from the actual storyline.
Well, I'm just glad that they rebooted the series and did it more truthful to the manga. Because again, this is a terrific story, terrific characters, amazing animation. You just absolutely love it. The only thing I can say is this definitely was not a target audience for kids.
No,
there's no way this had a young target audience.
Which is why it aired on Adult Swim here. Mm-hmm. Even the 03 one, it sort of had an almost reversal. But with this one, it was a lot more graphic. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's how the manga was. But yeah, there's a reason why it was on Adult Swim. So I can't see any kids here or in Japan, watching this at
being
14.
allowed by their parents to watch it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So it makes sense why it's on there. But that aside, it's still a really great story, really great show.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And you're right. Now, this one reminds me of Supernatural in the sense that the two brothers are close. Edward keeps saying, we're all that we have left. Edward's Dean and Alphonse is Sam.
Of course.
And that relationship is really part of what makes this story work, because he loves his younger brother and his younger brother loves him. And what they tried to do that was taboo to
Mhm.
bring about
I
them
guess
losing their bodies and their body parts.
Mhm.
You know, you can't look and go, oh, why did you do that? Because they wanted to see their mom. And then you find all this backstory about their dad and, you know, what happened to the mom and how this came about, and then their journey in trying to get back what they've lost.
Mhm.
It's just really incredibly
Yes, well,
engaging.
yeah.
You don't want to stop. I mean, once we started, I just kept wanting to binge watch.
Yeah, because
And it was 63 episodes.
Yeah, I think so, if that's the right number. Cause
13 per season, 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 65.
Yeah. So this was quite a bit of story here, because in so much would happen in one episode, there would be times where we watch 5 or 6 at a time because it'd be so interesting. You say, "Crap, it's already over."
Yeah, at first we watched a few, and then we got by the time we got to season 3. I can't remember which season. I think it was season 4. We watched it all in one day because I didn't want to stop.
Right? Yeah, it was that engaging. Where you got to see what happened next. You got to see what happened next. Got to see what happened next. And then there are times where they kind of, while still focused on the story, there was even a point in the show where the two of them were separated.
Season 4.
Right, and they actually had some focus on when they give you backstory what happened with they have the Ishvalan War. They show you what happened with that. They show you what happened with the background character. They show you what happened with the side characters, the ones that are heroes or the anti-heroes or the villains, and how this all came about. How all of the events started in the first place and what leads up to the conclusion. So there's a lot of story in this version. Even if you're not focused on the brothers, everyone still has a focus and a story, and is very, very complex.
That's what season 4 seemed to be. Get to know other characters, because seasons 1 through 3 and 5 really focused on their journey.
Right.
Absolutely. Also, another thing that made this really, really gripping is, as I said, you have the relationship between them, their journey, and while they're on it, but you get to see how they interacted with these different people on the journey. And even though, you know, Edward's a hothead, I love it, and then Alphonse is his calming calming source, you see where they actually got people who cared about their goal, what they were trying to do. And even in the beginning, at first, people didn't know what was going on. People wouldn't know that Alphonse, you know, it was just his soul that had been bonded to the suit.
Yeah.
But when they were finding out what was going on, they really wanted them to get back what they lost.
Right. And there was always, and it actually had more room for comedy, while this one, going with a lot of just for reboots, make it more serious, which is what the manga was in the first place. They did have time to do some very humorous moments. And one of the running jokes of the show is that if they don't know the Fullmetal Alchemist, they've heard of him. He's a legend for being the youngest state alchemist in history, and he has all this power and stuff. And they see Alphonse, and they think, "Oh, so you're the Fullmetal Alchemist?" And then he's all, "Oh no, that's not me. I'm his brother. That's the Fullmetal Alchemist." And they see Edward, and they're like, "What?
The little
one?" And then it results in Ed just blowing up and starting wanting to beat the crap out of him because they keep calling him short or little or something about his size.
Oh my god!
It is hilarious.
Yes, there was the right amount of everything in here, and it really, really made it work. I'm sorry on one hand that we didn't get to see it when it originally aired, but I'm just truly grateful that we learned about it and we've gotten to see it now. I could truly sit and watch this entire series all over again after we finish the 2003 series. It was really just that good, just that impressive.
Yeah.
And in this series, there's someone that's going to end up becoming your favorite character.
Right, because there's so many in here, whether they're major, side, or pop up every now and then, whether they're the good guy or the bad guy, anti-hero, anti-villain, whatever. They got so many characters in here, there's always somebody's going to like. And I know eventually they get a lot of characters in, like you have to deal with the homunculi, which are based off all the 7 deadly sins, and then you have other characters that joined in later, like was it Prince Ling, and
Yes.
and I think was her name May, the little girl with
Yes.
the panda, and you have lots of really interesting characters, and they all have various personalities, and they all have to work together.
The progression from beginning to end was really fluid also. And I loved how some episodes would answer all the questions you might have at that time, and you didn't know that that's what was going to happen with the episode. And by the end, I'll say just about every question was answered. The questions that aren't answered in this series, when you go back, if you haven't seen the first series like we're watching now, a lot of those questions are being answered because the first series is more detailed in telling about what happened prior to them attempting the transmutation.
Right.
And so the few questions we had about, I kept saying, well, why were they in the house by themselves? Wasn't anyone with them? Or immediately within those first few episodes, those questions were answered.
Exactly.
And the mom, and seeing more information on her. So I think it's a great idea to watch both series. I'm glad we watched the second one first. I really am. And we're watching the first one second. But, you can always watch the 2003, then the 2010.
Right.
And then the movie. But do not watch the movie before you watch these series, because you're going to think, because you do that like we did, that the movie is great. And you don't know what the heck you're talking about because you haven't seen either series, and then you're going to have to make a retraction like we are, because what the hell were we watching?
Right.
You thought it was the manga, and it wasn't. And there's just so many things we're not going to mention until we get to the podcast.
Yeah.
But if you have not seen Fullmetal Alchemist, either Brotherhood or the original, this is one anime you really have to see.
And both of them are available on Netflix.
I understand why it has been called one of the best anime series ever, because it is. It's unlike anything else you've seen. And I think a real testament to the writing, the voice acting, the animation, and everything is the 2003 is a little different in animation. You can tell. Yeah. It's a little
They're more simplistic and stuff in their design.
But you watch that or the 2010 and you're engaged and you don't want to stop watching, and it's interesting. It's fun. It's brilliant. It is witty. It's a story unlike any other. And it's easy to see where other anime shows got some of their characters and plot lines and things from. You can see it as you're watching it, and we're naming, oh, this is so-and-so. Oh, he looks like so-and-so. Oh, he looks like this character from Legend of Korra. Oh, and you see it. You see it all there.
Right.
It wasn't a direct copy, and as you say, sometimes it's more like a shout-out or paying homage. But you can see that this manga really was the basis and giving a lot of other writers and creators inspiration to do the work that they've done.
Plus, you also point out that with the both series, the difference between the both series, besides the way they handle the manga story, was the fact that it was the popularity of each one. 2003 one, well, people watching anime anyway way before then and to now. The 2003 one wasn't received as well. People did like it. There are fans of it, and you're gonna have fans of the original and then fans of the reboot. It just depends on the person, no matter which they watch first. And that one wasn't really as popular because it changed way too much and it did its own thing. Brotherhood became the reboot became the legacy of it because it stuck nearly every little detail to the manga with some very minor changes or shout-outs to the first one. So the reboot ended up taking off even more than that one. And 10 years later, people are still watching it, doing fan art, and doing tributes, and got a whole day dedicated to it.
Now, one thing that was obvious watching the series, and again, we watched Brotherhood before the original, is that Edward is the original Bakugo. there is no way in heck you cannot see that Edward is Bakugo. Well,
Yeah.
Bakugo is Edward, I should say.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh, the facial expressions, the behavior, the yelling, the screaming, the string. It's Bakugo Zero.
Right.
That's what it is.
And
I couldn't believe that he quickly became my favorite character. Edward is my favorite character.
I think your second favorite was Roy Mustang, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what was also funny with the characters, what the movie kind of misplaced, was that he was really unassuming. Yeah, they make these jokes like he's a little one, he's not going to do much, and then they have to fight him. They think it's going to be a walk in the park, and then he kicks their behinds, or he's too tough to beat, or it takes too long, and he is brilliant beyond belief, and it's
But he
like,
and Alphonse,
yeah.
they both are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both are.
Yeah, so that was part of the funny thing of them not assuming. That was, I guess, the advantage they had. If he didn't go off on them first, he would just kick their behinds because it's like, oh, you think I'm small, and they were destroyed.
Now, I do like in this one how he actually grew, and you saw the progression from him at 12 all the way to the end of the series, and you also saw the progression and growth of Winry. You didn't get to see Alphonse's until he got his body back, and then, you know.
Yeah, then he started growing
and
a
then
little
you
more.
can see, yeah. But that was fun. It was so much fun watching this series. It was fun. It had us on the edge of our seats. Again, just couldn't get enough of watching it. I really wish there was like a continuation. And I know you said there's no more story for this, but there is another story. They can make a story to show us them later, and they can show us somehow, some way. They found a loophole to get Edward's transmutation powers back, alchemist powers back.
or the kids will start doing the alchemy. Because, yeah, it looks like the way it ended, all the bad guys are gone, and it's like there's nothing left. There's no cliffhanger.
And their kids are them.
Yeah.
They
look like them.
And Edward's kids are the two of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I gotta mention, yes, there's shipping in here, but it's not like a thing how people are now like, you gotta show the shipping all the time. I want to see more of this in the story. It's still about the story, but you get little hints of it, and it's hilarious.
And I think that's what made it more interesting too. One, because they were really young when they started the story, and they're teens, and they're focused on getting their bodies back. There was no time for dating, romance, love. You knew he had feelings for her. You knew when we had feelings for him. It was obvious, especially when she said, "Have his shoulders always been that broad?" And I'm like, there we go. But the goal, the mission, the most important thing was getting Al's body back.
Although now,
and that took place over everything, understandably so. And he said, "I promise you."
So
I'm
you can say, "Why didn't you focus more on this?" Because that wasn't the focus of the story. Now people will purposely change the story just to satisfy fans' shipping needs, when this show didn't need to do that. Do this first, do that later, have some hints, and that's it. You don't need all that, and the story didn't need it.
It wasn't needed, and the way it ended was great. And I could see where Voltron tried to copy that ending with the picture. But they didn't do it successfully because here the story had been finished. And again, I would love to see these characters back. I would love to have more.
Now, now there are 2 animated movies that unfortunately were not received well by fans. They seem to be like the only downfall before the live action movie. There was one called The Conqueror of Shambhala, which takes place in the first series, where Anne and Alphonse are switched, and Alphonse really is the Fullmetal Alchemist, and Edward's just regular. And then they have another one called The Sacred Star of Milos, which takes place somewhere near the beginning of the Brotherhood series, and neither of the movies did well, but we still want to check them out to see how they really are, because they can't be worse than the live action one.
No.
Sorry, they gotta be at least interesting.
So, again, if you haven't seen this series, you should watch it. You gotta watch it. You love excitement and dark fantasy adventure,
and
humor and adventure and strong, well-written characters, developed characters. You like graphic anime violence.
Because this delivers that.
You love storyline, plot. You love a happy ending. You love the two main characters that are shipped getting together. You love all these things. You'll love Full Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yes. So, check it out on Netflix. And if you want to also check out the 2003 series and avoid the Netflix movie altogether.
Which we will be discussing as soon as we finish, which will be soon.
Right. So, thank you so much for watching. And tune in tomorrow for our next Robot Heroes podcast. I'm Mask Entertainment.
And I'm Mama Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights. Trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Get her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket.